Good morning, fans. Texas Homer here with Eric Nalin and Coach Dub on this beautiful Monday morning. Before we get to it, we are running a promo during silly season, and it has potential to get silly over the next couple days. So this is a very apt title. $1 for 7 days. It'll get you to National Signing Day through the fun coaching carousel and transfer portal moves, man. Man, this is a fun time of the season. On today's show, we are going to have some Texas A&M victory lapping. That will be enjoyable. We will be, of course, very humble about this win. Texas versus Georgia in the conference championship, the rematch that we were waiting for. Well, some of us were waiting for. Potential crazy recruiting finish, right? New NIL era is pretty interesting. And, of course, your questions. Feel free to take us off track with any questions you guys have. Good morning, Roaster. Glad to see you. You must have notifications on, Roaster, because you're right here every time immediately. It's impressive. We respect it. All right, Eric first. I know you wrote a good thing on the team this morning. We'll get into that in a little bit, but first impressions after watching the game.
Oh, man. Jeez. I couldn't stop writing yesterday. There was just so many thoughts going through my mind. I love the way that they rose to the occasion. That, they played probably their most disciplined game of the season, considering the environment and the magnitude of it. If they lose that game, then they got to watch A&M celebrate for the next year. They got to watch A&M play Georgia for their SEC championship. What they didn't, they rose to the occasion. They played a clean game outside of a couple miscues. Quinn, he gives, he takes a little bit here and there, but he played well. He played with a lot of grit and toughness. The team just. They pistol whipped them. It was a physical butt kicking. The score belies the actual game that we saw. Texas was doing whatever they wanted at the line of scrimmage, and that was they looked like the SEC team, not the team that had been in the SEC for 13 years.
Texas A&M not SEC ready. Coach, what'd you think?
Total domination from the first snap to the end. Honestly, I thought it was a complete performance by the team, just really dominating. Texas A&M, talk about the atmosphere, talk about all the other stuff. This team wasn't rattled. They wasn't shaking it whatsoever. So it's kind of see them go into that environment and stand together as a team like, hey, we're in this thing together. We're going to come out here and dominate. We don't care about any of the outside noise. It was really, really good to see that because they'll need a game like that and, kind of fight through adversity throughout the rest of the way. So it was good to see that team just kind of come together and just dominate like they did.
Yeah. The atmosphere. So I think you wrote that. What did your sources around the program think of Kyle Field?
They said it was the loudest stadium they've ever been in. The crowd did their thing. They lived up to their hype. The team didn't back them up. Right. But what I wrote last week was that this team is clearly in year one of an install. Talking about the Aggies, of course, and it shows. They're not. He's just now he's fixing the root level problems. He's trying to fix culture. Still trying to get his players in place. He's got a long way to go. Imagine where Sark was in his first year. So it's kind of funny seeing Aggies crying and moaning about play calling or something. Their problem was they got their ass kicked at the point of attack. And when that happens, play calling doesn't really matter. I saw somebody on Twitter say, if we had Le'Veon Moss, we'd be 10-2. And they show that play of Amari Daniels getting stuffed 3 yards behind the line of scrimmage. What was Le'Veon Moss going to do there? Nothing.
With Ethan Burke latching onto him.
Ethan Burke, if Ethan Burke didn't get him, I don't know why you leave a guy that's 6'7" on block. It took him 3 steps to get to the guy. Yeah. But if Ethan Burke didn't get him, Vernon Broughton was right there too. Broughton played a whale of a game. They just got beat up front. And when that happens, when you get physically manhandled, the play calling matters a whole lot less. So I thought, I think Marcel Reed has a pretty bright future. I think Colin Klein, I think he's a pretty good offensive coordinator. I think Elko's a good coach. But they're in year one, and Texas is in year 4. So it doesn't really matter as much who's been in the SEC and all that time. Sark has been building an SEC program even while he was in the Big 12. So he, in a lot of ways, A&M might have had the head start on Texas as far as being in the SEC, but Sark had the head start on Elko, and it shows. And so, yeah, it's funny watching A&M fans. They have no self-awareness whatsoever. They're complaining about NIL, like they had totally forgotten about the class they bought in 2022. They were bragging about. It was really heavy in one direction, just defensive line. They really poor allocation of resources there to go that heavy in one spot. A lot of those guys are playing for other schools now. But for them, they just lack any sort of self-awareness. So that Aggie thread on Inside Texas, that's what you wake up to on Sunday mornings and spend, the first half hour of your day is going through those posts. Duval Horn does a great job curating all the best comments from the one Aggie said something hilarious though. He said the game was 17-7, but that was because TU was in drag. It was really a 30-point ass kicking. So I thought he's right. That game was a much bigger win than the 10-point disparity.
Yeah, it was. And I think with Colin Klein, right? Colin Klein is a good offensive coordinator if you just look at his resume. But sometimes styles make fights, man. And for whatever reason, PK and Klein, like PK has him totally figured out. Whatever his style of offense is, PK just naturally can defend really well. So I think there's also an interesting kind of matchup there. But it was funny hearing some of the coping that could go on. But I thought overall, A&M was pretty honest with that. We beat them up pretty good.
Yeah. I mean, Elko said that they annihilated us. The edges, kicked their tails. They couldn't get anything done in the run game because of the edges. We saw that Barron Sorrell played a really good game. Had that offside. I mean, he came close to getting that pick on that Alfred Collins tip. I wanted that. They were honest. Torian York had some honest comments. Their linebacker. I mean, that's step one, man. You have to have an honest appraisal of your situation. Otherwise, you can't properly address the issues. And so Aggie fans are sitting there blaming NIL. It's a whole lot deeper than that. Elko needs more time. I think he's going to put a good culture in place. I don't know if he's ever going to win, 10, 11, 12 games consistently, but I think he can break 10 wins eventually. He just needs to keep building the program. We'll see if the Aggies give enough time. They tend to be their own worst enemy. They buy in a style over substance. They've got a guy that Elko has a lot more substance than style. And I think if they give him enough time, he's going to be successful, and they need to back him up as well. But we'll see if they're capable of that. I'm not sure.
They crack me up because they talk about us being show ponies. How choreographed all of their stuff is, it cracks me up. It's like, who's the prissy one? You guys have like whole stadium pep rallies so you guys can sway at the right time. You guys have coordinated your walkout perfectly. It looked cool. I'll give it to you. I'm a film major. Looked cool. But I'm saying, like, we're the ones that are prima donnas. Y'all are the ones that are very Hollywood.
That's wild. I saw Malik Jefferson say, "Hey, they didn't show that on the recruiting trip, man. What is all this extra stuff here?" It was like a cult.
I miss Malik say that. I got to get him on. We got to get him talking about that.
Yeah.
Oh, man.
But yeah, it's true. I like the Elko hire. They'll be better in the future. It was kind of delusional that all the analysis was on the 12th man, and it's like, and it was the same thing OU was saying because they didn't stand a chance. Sooner Magic was going to win it for them. As soon as you hear people talking like that, you're going to win because they don't have any concrete matchups that they have the huge advantage in. There was no running back on earth that would have converted that goal line on fourth down. That's true.
No, he was hit before he could even get going, and it wasn't just Burke that was there. The whole line got whipped. They just had Burke got there because they left him on block, and like I said, he's 6'7". It takes 2.5 steps to get there.
And a lacrosse player that can move in that kind of space.
Yeah, you might want to put a hat on him.
I saw some A&M guys who I respect. They're decent. They were kind of like doing the backhanded compliment of like, look, we just can't compete with that Texas NIL. But Texas is doing a great job. We're not saying anything negative about it. It's like you're still trying to hint that it's a money thing. Like A&M doesn't have money. That part was interesting as well.
I mean, how did they get Walter Nolan? I mean, it's like I said, they're just so oblivious to what they've been doing. And LSU fans are the same way too. They keep blaming NIL. How did y'all flip Cade Phillips? I mean, it's
everybody has an excuse.
And the reason our NIL is good is because we're actually organizing a whole roster. So it's like we have depth on the second, we have third string guys. It's our roster management. We're not just buying the top line players.
Yes, roster. It's dispersed, and that's why you see, talking about the article that I wrote this morning. Why the defense is so good, and the guy goes, because there's 17 or 18 of them, and they all play significant, and they're all interchangeable. You might say Anthony Hill's a star or Colin Simmons is a star, but then Barron Sorrell's the one out there making plays, or we hadn't talked about Ethan Burke all year, and then Ethan Burke's making plays, and Alfred Collins has been getting all the headlines the last month, and then Vernon Broughton has the game of his life, and Michael Taft, that massive interception he had, and then they go down and convert the long 93-yard drive. I mean, the game was basically over at that point. So it's not just headliners. Janae Barron was not on anybody's Thorpe Award watch list other than maybe ours coming into the season. He was a disappointment to many last year because he was playing hurt at star. And so it's just the overall balance. The baseline ability of the roster is very high. There's not a lot of weak points. And a lot of teams are top heavy. A&M is top heavy, but Texas is not. You know, they're very strong throughout the entire roster.
Yeah, that's different.
Yeah, and speaking a little bit to that, I was good to see Bill Norton in the goal line situation. Like most people talk about him, why he doesn't play much, but like he plays in situations like that. He just makes a play on the 4th and 1 stop in the goal line.
Yeah.
It's like that's why he was brought here. We got multiple guys who can play different situations and match any style that you want to play. Like that's unheard of. Most teams are not built that way.
Yeah, his job was to create a pile, and that's exactly what he did.
Yeah, that was cool. Did Texas come out during the Aggie fight song on purpose?
I don't know.
I don't either.
Maybe. I don't know. You know, Sark was talking about sportsmanship after the game because he had referenced Michigan going to midfield on Ohio State and that fight breaking out. So I don't know. I don't think they did that on purpose, but it probably didn't hurt their feelings that they did it either.
Yeah, that was he did stop it from going on. They had the police on standing on it too as well.
Happened at a ton of games, man. I don't know. It was
Dude, it was crazy. I'm surprised we didn't do it. We tried, but
Stafford anyway.
Yeah. All right. Look into Georgia winning the SEC bye week versus losing and getting a much better seeding and in theory an easier pass to the championship game. So here's a question I have. So right now, everyone who's going into the playoffs that's not playing in a conference championship gets a bye. It's not an official bye, but they're not playing this week.
Right.
Okay. So if you lose your conference championship game, meaning you don't get the first round, you get screwed because you didn't get this championship week to recover. You get the 1 week in between, but you're also playing in the first round. So like losing your conference championship is way less advantageous than just being the third team.
Yeah. Stakes are very high. There's a lot of guys to get healthy. Quinn Ewers, notably. Isaiah Bond, notably. Perhaps Kelvin Banks. We got to figure out what's going on there. Jaden Blue. Yeah, there's a number. The stakes are very high for this game. Of course, you want to win the conference championship. It would be awesome to go, Big 12 to SEC back to back. As somebody noted on the board, that would be Sark's second conference championship. I think Mac Brown only have 2 his entire time? Some crazy stat like that. It'd be awesome, but also for practical purposes, winning the national championship, I think Texas truly needs to win this game and get that bye week,
right,
and get these guys healthy, mentally healthy, physically healthy. We talked about this in November. It's nice to have those bye weeks spaced out by a month, just to sort of regroup. And also, then your coaches get to game plan. They're going to game plan 2 teams. They know they're going to play 1 or 2 teams, and so they'll probably, based on the matchup, they'll probably know have a pretty good idea which team to game plan the most for. And so that's another huge advantage.
Yeah, look, I'm in the category. Let's just win it all. I don't care about. I don't want losing. I know Lane Kiffin said something about it and all that. Look, I'd rather win. First year in the SEC, we came over and we dominated. It says a lot. It says a lot. Does a lot for recruiting. Does a lot for the program. We've got a team built with depth. It's okay. We got a lot of guys who have gotten amount of playing time throughout the season that we can count on, right? You look at young Kobe Black who's played. You look at some of the other guys, Jelani McDonald. Like, we got guys who can come in and fill in. So if somebody does get banged up, we can continue to play and not lose a step. So to me, go win it all. Don't worry about injuries. Don't worry about getting time off. Let's just prepare to go win the whole thing. This is how I feel about it.
Yeah. I bet we get the 5 seed if we lose. Yeah, but you think they're going to slip Alabama in at 12? Like let Arizona State be 11. They're going to have the other ones, and they slip them in. And then that means you would get rewarded as a 5 seed with Alabama. Like Alabama's had their problems, but having to play Alabama is not what you want when you want the 5 seed.
Yeah, I mean, it's still it's a terrible matchup because no matter what, it's still going to be a physical game.
Right.
Yeah.
So it's like, man, the incentive structures are just totally screwed up on this playoff. It's way cooler than a 14, but like I said, losing the SEC championship or any championship, you lose a week and still have to play. I mean, you're getting punished for being number 2 in the conference.
We talked about this a while back. Texas. That's why I think this is a high stakes game. Texas still has a chance no matter what, but I think the path gets a little easier if they win this week.
Oh yeah,
yeah.
And I haven't checked over on the Georgia camp how they're feeling about it. Such a weird Georgia team, dude. So weird. You don't know what you're going to get. They played the most inspired game versus us, but you watch any other game, you're just like, what's going on?
Yeah, how did Georgia Tech lose that game Friday night? Yeah, they had a million chances. A quick answer is the referees were absolutely atrocious in that game. Yep. The game never should have gone overtime. yeah, you see Georgia play like that, and you're like, man, how does this team that played in Austin October 19th? It just doesn't look like it's not even a close resemblance. So, Georgia's going to have confidence because of that first game. Texas has motivation. This is the game everybody wanted. I heard, especially the offense wants this shot at redemption because, the defense played very good in that first game. And the offense is the one that put the defense behind the 8 ball. I think it's going to be funny. I'm curious to see how this game gets covered by the pundits nationally. It's everybody. Texas fans are going to have a little PTSD. I was in the stadium, so I have a little PTSD based on how the offense played that game. But then you see Texas get the running game going. You saw Quinn hit a couple downfield shots, which right on the money. He looked comfortable. The tip pick six and the fumble that happens. But he had some amazing throws, and not just that one to goal. He had plenty of them. If they're going to strike the balance between the run game and the passing offense, Georgia's. I don't see how Georgia wins this game, but we'll see. Still got that the Georgia defense in the back of my mind from that first game.
See, that's the problem, Eric, because Kirby's going to clip what you just said, and he's using all of it right now. He's a master motivator.
Oh, God.
So, the analysis the media is doing right now is not analysis. It's hard to beat a team twice. Like, thank you. That's the same thing of like the 12th man's going to win it. There's no analysis there. Yeah. The value is if you're the losing team, you have the motive to change things.
Right.
The winning team doesn't have motive to change. So you can catch the losing team can catch the previous winning team off guard because they're going to have to change things, and Georgia's not going to be able to anticipate that effectively. But like I said, me and Paul spent all week doing great Georgia analysis on how this team is up and down, and then they played again like it was 2021 versus us. So it's all about can Kirby motivate them because they got them first rounders, that's for sure. All right, y'all. Before we keep going, let's hear a word from Andre.
This video is brought to you by Andre the Lawyer. If you're injured, trust the team that secured millions for their clients and helped thousands of Texans with their injury case. Car wrecks, slip and falls, 18-wheeler accidents, on-the-job injuries, and wrongful deaths. Don't let insurance tell you what your claim is worth. Hire Andre the Lawyer to fight for you. Principal office is in Dallas, but they serve Texans throughout the state. So don't wait and call Andre the Lawyer today at 214-444-8808. That's 214-444-8808. The contact information is in the description.
All right. Catch up on these comments here. ABC had to rework the audio because Texas came out and muddled up the A&M song and dance. Felt like a middle finger from Texas. I didn't pay attention to it. I did notice we came out during it, but I didn't know if there was any strategy to it or not. Quentin, what's up, dude? If Clemson wins, Boise could be 3rd seed because they would be ranked higher than the Big 12 and ACC champ, which is just, once again, we're not getting this correct.
Right. And Boise,
how are your UNLV guys feeling about it? They're going to get the upset.
Look, it's a rematch. They can't beat a team twice, I guess, right? No, but they got to play in Boise though versus a neutral site, so that's going to be interesting to see.
I'm excited we're playing in Atlanta, which is basically a Georgia home game.
Yeah,
like for whatever reason, our road game ability. I would be more worried once again if we were playing at home for whatever reason. I don't know why that is. But I like that we're going into enemy territory there. South Carolina should get in over Bama, in my opinion. One of the hottest teams in the country and would have one less loss, LSU, if Sellers did not get hurt.
Yeah. I did not see it coming that I would be a South Carolina fan this year. They're just fun to watch. Watched them a couple times earlier. They should have beat LSU. They should have beat LSU even with Sellers hurt. But yeah, they're a good team. They played hard. They're physical. They would be that. They look like a playoff team right now. There's no doubt about it.
The tricky part, right? They have the head-to-head.
Yeah.
So what do you do with that? And the answer
Bama is Bama. Bama's going to get people tuning in. Bama equals eyeballs, and this is still about money.
Yeah. Bama brings the money, and they have the head-to-head. Did you see Lane Kiffin's politicking, the post that he retweeted?
No, I didn't see that.
You should see it. He's like breaking down why Ole Miss should make it in. And it's actually a very reasonable argument. But it is funny that we're like in the era of coaches having to campaign, and I wonder if there's going to be like some shady, like former Washington consulting groups that can like start popping up and helping people politic in college football now. It'll be interesting. But either way, man, right?
Like BCS.
Well, say you get the 5th seed, right, and you're rewarded with South Carolina or Bama. It's like, no, man, give us the G5 team. That was the whole point. We could play Georgia 2 more times.
Yeah, this game and then in the playoffs.
Yeah.
Okay, he's counting this game. I was like, how are you going to play him twice in the playoffs? Even if we lose to Georgia, we still have 2 weeks off. Yeah, but we would have if we're Tennessee, then you end up with like when December 20th, right, is when we play for the.
Yeah, I think that's the first playoff game, right? And then the 30th.
Yeah,
I don't know, man. I'm so focused on in season that I have not really looked at the playoffs.
The 21st, 20th or 21st. So he's saying, look, even if you're Tennessee, right, and you missed the conference game, you're still going to have to play first round. So it's 2 weeks or 2 weeks, right? Quinn had 7 turnover worthy plays against Georgia. He needs to be a game manager and win the game. Here's the thing. Quinn played so poorly in that game. What are the odds that you can recreate that? That's kind of what I'm on right now. It's just not likely you're going to be able to turn us over in our side of the field that many times again. Right. And plus, there's no way we don't see it coming now. Like, the schemes are going to have to be better. The offensive line, Quinn, like they were able to kind of blitz us. We did not expect to see that level of play from them.
They held Texas to 29 rushing yards. I mean, they're not going to duplicate that, but it's, can the defense play as well as it did that game too? There's the other side of that coin.
Yeah, I feel like Texas improved in 2 ways. One, the running game. Trey's a little more patient. He's finding the holes. He had some holes versus Georgia. He just didn't hit and see. And the receivers are working with Quinn. So when you do blitz, they're sitting down in the soft zone. You saw against A&M. People got open, right? They brought pressure. They were able to sit down and give Quinn a target to actually throw to. So I think that's improved.
Yeah, I don't know what's going on with Contravion, but he's just like, he's not going down. I want to see if there's a big difference.
Are you okay? Sorry. Hello. Somebody's home sick from school. Sorry.
Look here. Lane Kiffin's manifesto is what the media is labeling it. He clearly got it off like a board. It's like a screenshot of like some poster, some smart poster that put it together. And he's like, yeah, that's what I think. That's pretty funny. Do they have identical records? I don't know. Look up if Bama and South Carolina are identical records, because that's where the head-to-head matters. Look at Kirby's track record as the lower-ranked team since 2021. It's kind of scary how much that motivates them. Yeah, clearly.
Well, how many examples are there?
I was going to say, like, what? When they were playing us, they were like, this is like the first or second time Kirby hasn't been a favorite. So it's like, I guess maybe they weren't a favorite against Bama one time in like a conference championship or something. And also that works in week 5, but hopefully the players are bright enough to realize that that's a strategy. If he's able to get them ass fired up again, that's pretty impressive. That's a pretty impressionable group of young men.
Especially after a win, especially after they beat them.
Yeah.
Yeah. Nobody thinks you guys can win because you just beat them.
Yeah. Exactly. But I have heard the media seems pretty pro Texas here. But like I said, they're doing that base level of analysis. Like, it's hard to beat a team twice, which I don't know if is even accurate if we like look at data, if that's even true or not. I just hear it repeated all the time. Yes, they are both 9-3. Yeah, if they're both 9-3, I think you have to go to head-to-head. If I'm being honest, I think South Carolina is the hotter team and the scarier team. But there has to be some dependable, non-subjective ways that we handle this, because it's already getting really kind of shady. You ready to talk some recruiting, Eric?
Sure.
We've already had some people on the board say that it's over for them if we lose any recruits here. We have some people that are pretty dramatic on the Inside Texas board in a funny way. So talk them off the ledge, Eric. Or
no, I don't want to talk him off the ledge. No, it's funny. We had somebody post the other day, like, I don't really, I'll just wait to see how everything unfolds, and I'll see what the total class looks like after signing day. And I'm like, well, you're already way too mature to follow recruiting if that's your approach. You're supposed to live and die by each new event. You're supposed to get too high and too low if you're a true recruiting fan.
Yep.
I don't advocate that. I think they're gonna lose the commit tonight. I don't think it's going to be one that anybody's going to lose sleep over. And they're working their asses off for a very big finish. Now, whether or not they can pull it off, I don't know that. I do know that they're trying. Like I said last night, they're going for the Godfather finish. They're trying to wrap it all up in a couple swoops. I don't know if they're going to be able to do that because they're going after some really good players that have a lot of competition after them. Justice Terry going to be very tough, but they're all in. Michael Fasusi, very tough, but they're all in. A couple more. We do feel good about Kellen Wiley, linebacker out of Tampa, and Michael Terry, athlete out of San Antonio. Feel like those guys are going to end up in the class on Wednesday. But there's a lot of other ones that they're working very hard on that are going to be very tough. But they have got so many lines in the water. I think that there is going to be a pretty big development between now and Wednesday for sure, but maybe Friday. Justice Terry, I believe, is announcing at noon Eastern on Friday. That's the one that that's the one that everybody cares about the most, given the need at the position, given the fact that they just lost Mbachu yesterday. USC's coming after Sharma. I feel like Texas is going to hold on to him. Florida's coming after Myron Charles. I felt like Texas is going to hold on to him as well. Florida's also going after Zealous Hicks. I think Texas will hold on there. There's some confidence that they will at least. But man, I don't know. It's a volatile time. But just as schools are trying to poach from Texas, Texas is trying to poach from them too. It's the same John Wick mindset they have on the football field.
So Florida in that last push showed that the business is probably right for Florida. But is it Lagway? Are they able to sell the Lagway excitement in that as well?
They've done a really good job regenerating hype around that program. A lot of it is Lagway.
Finishing 7-5 with that schedule, dude, is respectable, man.
Absolutely, yeah, they earned it. Now, the defense cleaned up. The defense, if you watch just the Texas game, you'd say their defense is terrible, but that game was sort of uncharacteristic for the lead up to it, and then they've played better defense since. So, I think Ron Roberts probably deserves a lot of praise for what they've done on defense. But yeah, they played a tough schedule, played it admirably. And there's a lot of belief in Lagway that, had Lagway not been hurt, the Texas game would have been closer. And, he's got a very bright future. And when you have money and you got hype, you can do a lot of things with it. And Florida right now has more money than they've had in the past, saving money on the Billy Napier buyout. But I think they took the smart approach, that Napier didn't deserve to get fired based on how this year's gone.
Right.
And then they had already had the money raised to get rid of him if they needed to. So now they're going to put that money to work, and either it's going to work out with Napier next year, or the next head coach is going to be in a better position to win early because they were able to stockpile talent this cycle.
And the kids are closer, right? Florida's closer to where they live. They've
got a proximity advantage with a number of them, but I don't think that's necessarily going to help with Jamie French and Myron Charles, just because Texas had done such a good job with French. Really, from the moments he decommitted from Alabama in January, KJ Lacey had already been working on him, had a pretty good relationship, and Texas was able to build that up the right way for a long time, over a long period of time. Myron Charles, a little bit iffy. We knew, back to May and June that this one was going to be hairy down to the wire. Didn't know what team it was going to be. Thought maybe it'd be Miami that presented the greatest threat. Turns out it's Florida, but Texas is doing all they can. They're right there on having a very, very. It's already a good class. They've got a chance to really blow the top off in the next couple of days. Like I said, it's going to be difficult. I'm still not sure how it's all going to play out. That has me excited. Normally, I have a very, very good idea of how signing day is going to go. This year, there's a lot more volatility, but that could be good. But I do know that there's plenty of optimism behind the scene that Texas is going to land a couple studs. No, they don't pursue Micah Hudson. Goodness gracious.
Well, and also too, like I'll hear, like the sentiment. Do you want to go with Napier or Sark, which we have here? Right. This is low risk for these kids, man. They can transfer after a year. So it's like the thing too is like none of this really has to. Like if you think the situation is closer to home, you think Florida's trending up, the money's right. Why you go to Florida for a year, and if something weird happens, man, you can go wherever you want.
I disagree with that sentiment, and I think Micah Hudson is the perfect example of why. And now he's talking about he wants to go to a place where he can be developed. Well, I mean, you had that opportunity. What better place is there in America than to play wide receiver for Texas? I mean, literally who? Who else is putting in wide receivers to the NFL like like Steve Sarkisian has. So I don't believe that this low risk. I think kids could go to the school that gives them the best chance of making it to the NFL. Now, if you're a Central Texas kid and you thought that was Lubbock, okie dokie, that's fine. But I'm going to a play that gives me the highest floor. And a school with a coach on the hot seat is not the place that gives me the highest floor, because you're not going to have the same opportunities when you go in the portal. That's true. Texas looks at you entirely different once you go to a different school. Now, if we're talking about portal players, they want somebody that's proven. They want somebody that's experienced. So that's not going to be Micah Hudson. They'll go find an Isaiah Bond. They don't want. What's the point of taking Micah Hudson that has a ton of questions about him, as opposed to
injury issues?
They had 3 guys going to the portal yesterday that would improve the wide receiver core next year as it projects, and Micah Hudson's not one of them. So, you don't want to. These players should be looking for the highest floor position they can, the least amount of variability in their development. And if they have to wait a year or two and take if they have to delay gratification of having playing time, then that's the smart thing to do to secure themselves for the next 15 years. This is when you're as talented as Micah Hudson, you really are making a decision that impacts your whole NFL career. Some guys are talented enough to overcome it, like Evan Stewart's still going to get drafted highly. Despite wasting 2 years in A&M. But Evan Stewart's never going to have the college career that he would have had at Texas had he gone there the whole time. That's the way you got to look at it. It's got to be a really grown-up attitude, but sometimes people go with the highest bidder. They listen to the agent, they listen to an uncle or whatever, and they make bad decisions. Happens all the time.
Well, if you're listening to somebody who's on commission, you should know. I know you're 18, but if they're on commission, of course they want you to go to the highest bidder, man.
Their best interest.
Yeah, they're taking 10%. Yeah, they want the most out of their 10%. And also there's this theme with wide receivers, particularly that like they want to be unique, cool guys that like blaze their own like Evan Stewart with the dumb Texas A&M thing. It's like, dude, I get if you're trying to like get back at Texas, but go literally anywhere else, man. They have no receivers.
He had it read right out of the gates, and that's why he committed to Texas in the first place.
Yeah,
and then he listened to a bunch of bad advice. And he what's the saying? He tripped over pennies, or he tripped over dollars to make pennies, or something like that. Yeah, he just he took the wrong view of it, and then he had to go get another cash grab. Yeah,
it's interesting. Let's get through these comments.
No, Golden didn't pass up on Texas. Texas didn't push for him. That was it. Texas had a very bad wide receiver process in 2022. We don't want to mess around, talk too much trash on Andre Coleman. That was not wise to retain him. He did not have a good board. Texas should have gone all in on Golden out of high school, but they didn't. Brandon Thompson, that was pretty much the wide receiver class. So big miss there, but they were able to make up for it, thankfully, through the portal.
Good stuff. Before we keep going, guys, let's hear from Laura Baker.
Hi, I want to tell you about Laura Baker. If you're looking for a new home in the 512, or even at this point, let's face it, 737 area code, there's only one number to call. That's Laura Baker at 512-784-0505. As a member of the elite Andy Allen team with Keller Williams, Laura has helped Longhorns find the home of their dreams in Central Texas. Just ask our resident sex symbol, Ian Boyd, who moved all the way from Michigan to Texas with Laura's help. Laura can help you find what you're looking for in the 512, the 737, or even parts of the 254 and the 210. Just, give her a call at 512-784-0505. Her email is in the description, as well as the rest of her contact details. She's a friend. Give her a call.
I am glad Golden didn't hold that against us.
Right.
Sometimes they can't get a little spiteful.
Well, yeah. So you see that all the time. They'll spite themselves. And it's why would I see it all the time. I don't like the coach, so I went pro early. Well, okay. Did it help you or hurt you? It's all it's sometimes you got to be selfish. Sometimes being selfish is making it harder on yourself. You've got to go for the right place. You got to go to the place that even if you don't want to be there necessarily, maybe you don't like the town or the coaches, but it's the best thing for you. It's like not everybody wants to go to the military out of high school, but they do it because it's the best thing for them long term. Sometimes these schools go to the place that's going to develop you. And Matthew Golden look what they did with Adonai Mitchell.
Yeah.
Look what they've done with other guys too. Xavier Worthy was basically a transfer. And let me go to the place that's going to highlight me the best. And he made a grown-up decision, and right now it's really paying off for him. I hate seeing him blow up. He's looking like the last couple of games looks like he's like an NFL player. I thought there might be a slight chance for him to come back. Now I'm not so sure.
Yeah,
good for him. Good for him. Got to keep the conveyor belt rolling and get some more guys in.
He's our most reliable guy right now.
Kids don't really pay attention to the opportunities that they can have. You look at Texas; they played a bunch of young guys this year. So if you can play, you show leadership qualities, and you show that you can play, you'll find a way to get on the field. Don't get sold into, if you come here, you can be the guy. You can be the guy at Texas. Just go earn it. Yeah. Right. And most people just are afraid to have the wrong people in their corner telling them, hey, go here so you can play early. It's like, you can play early at Texas too.
Yep. Wingo's playing. Anthony Hill played a lot. Colin Simmons played a lot. Trey Wisner made a mark on special teams and looked like he was going to be a player long-term just because of how he prepared on special teams.
DeAndre Moore.
Yeah, it's all there for him. It's all there for him. You just got to come in and compete. You got to come in with the right mindset.
Yeah. If DeAndre's second year, but if you show that Jordan Whittington ability, you can block and all that, Sark will give you the advantage. Here we go, Eric. I know you're going to like this one. Ohio State has a certain linebacker commitment. They might rethink that debacle up there.
Oh, man. Ohio State's got a good one. You call that a debacle. Losing to Michigan, this Michigan team, I agree. That is a debacle. But on the whole, Ohio State is not a debacle. All the talk about Ryan Day getting fired is pure insanity to me. I don't, golly, the internet is not a real place sometimes. I don't know that that's actually going to do anything. Ohio State's defense has been good. Now they've got a bit of a rebuild ahead of them. Like, Texas has a bit of a rebuild through this offseason as well, but they do too. I don't know. Charlie knows that recruitment better than I do.
Yeah, I don't know if it moved the needle whatsoever. I know they had a reconfirming or reassuring picture they posted that, hey, we're locked in, but everybody says they're locked in. We still got 2 days to sign and they will see what happens. But I don't know. It was classist act, to fight in midfield. Moms don't like that type of stuff.
Yeah, I don't think that's going to change anything. We'll go into more that recruitment in more detail on Thursday, probably.
It's been said, but I want to say it again. Nansen and Kenny Baker have been great for us.
Yeah,
you talked about Nansen today in your article.
Yeah, well, we knew Nansen was doing a lot of things to tie together the different levels of the defense, helping out specifically with run fits, team-wide run fits, which have been exceptional pretty much the entire year. He's done a really good job of making up for the huge loss of Tavondre Sweat and Byron Murphy. Kenny Baker's done a great job. I mean, he's got, he's building his own case as a developer with getting the most out of Alfred Collins and Vernon Broughton. Yeah, both those guys were motivated to come back and do well, incentivized by, improving their draft position. But, they give a lot of credit to Baker too. And so, yeah, I think both those guys are going to have terrific 2026 classes. They've definitely had to work their butt off for whatever they've gotten in this class. It hasn't always been pretty or easy. Nansen was left a very good situation with Elijah Barnes, thankfully. He's able to capitalize on that. Had to go find a late take in Kellen Wiley. That one should get done. Hopefully On 3 is right about his ranking and he's a top 100 player because, they're pretty thin at linebacker going into next year. But both those guys have done a good job. Both have been good coaches and have been good recruiters. Just, it hasn't quite taken off for Nansen like we thought. Yeah, Ty Anthony Smith is a stud. We've been talking about him. I mean, we were talking about him when he's committed to A&M.
That's Eric's Broughton. That's Eric's new Broughton.
Yeah, Ty Anthony. We were all over that one. Had a lot of insight on that recruitment. Jeff Choate again. He left Nansen in a good spot with having Ty waiting in the wings and Leon Lafau with Hill, of course.
You tell Quintravion to keep running like that, all right, Derek? We appreciate what he's doing on the field.
Oh yeah, I'm glad. Yeah, see, that kid, he's a testament to having the right mindset. You come in with the right mindset, but also he's built different too. That kid is just tough in ways that a lot of people aren't. Like, you can't just duplicate toughness. You either have it or you don't.
You saw it on special teams last year.
Yeah, I love Sark calling him. It's like cut from a Brillo pad. Yeah, you can't fake toughness. So I mean, either you have that or you don't. But you can work it. Whether or not you work hard is up to you. Anybody can work hard.
Yeah. Kyle Flood earned his money the last 3 games, right? So me and Ian, post Vanderbilt, did a breakdown on our Wednesday show talking about how we were struggling on our double teams on the offensive line and just making mistakes. And since then, man, I've been impressed with the offensive line and their run blocking. Like, they've been more sound. They've been meaner. They've stayed on their blocks longer. I mean, the offensive line has really picked it up these last few weeks, and that's been a noticeable improvement against good fronts, right? Like Kentucky has guys, Texas A&M has guys, you know. So it's like that's what's been cool to see, man, is like that in-season progression, because the run game is going to be so crucial here down the stretch, and to see the offensive line and Wisner both clicking and peaking at the right times, that's really important.
Yeah, if you go back and look at the other games, they were taking the necessary steps, right, on the double teams, like double fitting up to the linebacker. Now they're just moving their feet to get there.
Yeah,
That's the biggest thing in that. Like they're actually just executing and finishing the blocks. That's all it really was. It's mental, right? And so you can tell they really have worked on it throughout the season, especially during the bye weeks and things of that nature. I don't know if Cal Flood's got the boards back out where you go down and chop your feet, but it looks like that. Like they're finishing blocks at the second level. Look, the big Connor, he's got one of the stewards 10 yards down the field, man. It's like, this is what I'm talking about. Like, it's always been there. It's just all about execution and actually doing it. But I'm glad they're doing it late in the season, because when it gets colder, you got to be able to run the ball. That's the old saying, right? And so they're being able to do that. It's perfect.
Yeah, there were a number of times where Wisner wasn't touched until 5 yards, and then he got touched, and he took the defender for another 5 yards. I came in August. I wrote, hopefully they hit the ground running with the offensive line, and that's kind of what I expected, was they would hit the ground running. Last year, it seemed like the offensive line had the same thing, where it didn't really truly get cohesively until early in the year. Just kind of Jonathan Brooks kind of made up for it throughout the season. This year, they didn't have a Jonathan Brooks making up for it. Like Sark said, he said right when it looked like Wisner was about to start hitting his stride this season, earlier in the year, he had a hamstring issue. So maybe that crimped things a little bit. But I seem to remember the offensive line starting to play a lot better towards the end of last season, and they're certainly doing that now. If they keep it up, that could be the thing that resets the ceiling. This didn't look like a national championship team a couple of weeks ago. Right now, it's looking like a team that's fully capable of winning the national championship.
Yeah.
Let's get this Javian Hilson one.
Oh, yeah.
Of course, there's been Javian Hilson topics over at InsideTexas.com. I'm selling that one as far as ending up at Texas. I don't think, first of all, it's not going to be cheap, right? Any edge rusher is not cheap. And you've got Colin Simmons, who should never come off the field next year other than to get a sip of water or catch his breath real quick. And then if that's the case, then, you've got a lot of resources tied up that's, mostly on the bench. Maybe it comes down to whether or not Trey Moore comes back, but they do need more depth there. But I don't know that you can have a freshman sitting on the bench at that amount. I don't know where he's going to end up. The sources seem to think A&M. Of course, he missed the A&M. He wasn't at the A&M game this past weekend, which was unfortunate for Texas, more so than it was for A&M. But I tend to think that he's not going to end up at UT at this point.
You should go watch the game again, watch Nash's breakdown, watch Colin Simmons versus Armaj Reed Adams. They're battling the entire game. Everything's like after the whistle, but there is some vendetta there, dude, that was even carrying on. Like, these guys clearly are not fans of each other, and they were just going at each other all game, dude. It was comical to watch them.
Yeah, I don't know what they was at the end of the game. It looked like a wrestling match, man. I was like, what is he doing? Like, what is he trying to accomplish here?
Dude, that was just the culmination, dude. Like, you can watch the whole game. They're going at each other. Is Reed Adams from DeSoto? I don't know if he is. But that was funny, man. They are not buddies for whatever reason. Super weird. Let me see. We're catching up real quick. Yeah, no fumbles from the running backs. Yeah, that was really important.
Well, Wisner didn't fumble the week before.
Yeah, so I think she's just talking in the totality from.
I know, but I think that's a function because Wisner was the one that got all the carries.
Yeah.
If you got Wisner getting 33 carries and he's not the one that's as prone to fumble, that was, I kept waiting for one.
He was Did you see the clip of him on the bike and giving his prayer at the end, Wisner? That was hilarious, dude. And then they asked him in post game, they're like, "Were you tired?" And he was like, "Tired." They were like, "Yeah, were you tired?" He's like, "Tired." He doesn't get to Wisner's fast track to be a fan favorite, man.
Hey, homie, you kind of go back. Remember the video we made in the offseason talking about his progression, him running. The more carries he got, the better he got. Vision, bouncing off tackles and all that. Like, you can just see it happening game by game, man.
I mean, he was the stud running back in the OU game.
Yeah.
He's got a nice little sophomore year going where, you lead Texas to a victory over OU. And then again, A&M were 33 carries in this day and age is like getting 60 back in the day.
I have friends that are like casual. They're not really UT fans, but they like college football. And I had friends texting me about Wisner. Like, who is that? Have they announced the Joe Moore finalists?
I know they had semifinalists a couple weeks ago. I don't know if they did finalists yet. Okay. They need that award for the secondary, man. They need the Dwayne Aquino award.
Yeah. It's also weird how they do the Thorpe where you're like trying to grade a safety versus a corner. Like that's the same thing. And I'm like,
well, yeah, they've got the what's the Lombardis for offensive line and defensive line. It's kind of silly, but
yeah.
I think we should give out the Aquino award. I think I've got an idea who should win.
Yeah, for sure. Protect Quinn this weekend and we win, no doubt.
It goes without saying, most definitely got to protect him. He protect himself as well.
Yeah, and they
keep navigate their pocket, Quinn. You got it.
They keep giving national ads to whatever that ankle company is that made that. They like kept saying like the name of the brand and everything. Like, hey man, you're getting advertised to 8 million people. That's pretty solid. That thing is pretty cool though.
It is. Somebody said Notre Dame beat A&M twice. I guess because the guy who designed it was from Notre Dame. Sorry, Notre Dame beat He designed the ankle bracelet, so I guess he beat A&M twice.
Dude, Quinn on that run where Golden blocked for him, and then Quinn just stepped out, man. I was like, dude, Quinn cannot feel that ankle right now. Whatever they did, whatever the aspirin they gave Quinn was real effective because, man, Quinn showed hard, dude.
He had no idea Golden was going to get that block, but so if he would have kept going, I think that other DB had a fast track on and an angle on him to light him up. So maybe it was good that he went out when he did.
Dude, Quinn on that one where he rolled out and man was going for just like a brisk jog and still got like 20 yards. It was impressive.
It wasn't pretty. Yeah, you could tell he's not right. He looked like Bernie Kosar out there in the flat.
Yeah, he's like limping and trying. But hey, man, he's showing a lot of heart, dude. Like that's what matters.
I can't help but love that guy, man. I mean, yeah, he's got little hiccups here and there. Quit with the tips. I'm tired of hearing about the tips. They keep calling it bad luck. At this point, it's just part of the game. I mean, you got to know the tip is a possibility, but
especially when you're a sidearm thrower.
Yeah,
like,
but he showed
from a lower arm angle.
He showed some toughness, man. And that deep ball to Golden was beautiful. We need more of that,
dude. Yeah, for sure.
I got a question. How slow is like the A&M front four and the linebackers? Because they couldn't catch Quinn though. Like he outran them. They couldn't even catch up.
They're not that fast, man. They're not speed rushers on that DL. They're power rushers, like Paul's stated several times. And
yeah, they're big.
Man. Oh, let's talk about Kelvin and Gooseby. Yeah. So we don't have any updates on Kelvin, I don't think, but I wanted to talk, dude, to get put in there versus 2 potential first round mocks and didn't even feel like you lost the number 1 tackle in the class, man. That's pretty impressive stuff. What are you hearing about?
We've been very high on Gooseby since about 5 minutes after he stepped on campus. Really part of the evaluation in high school. He's just a big giant basketball player. His brother's one of the top basketball players in the country, and Trevor has that sort of basketball athleticism and offensive lineman body. So we've always been extremely high on him. We were advocating pretty hard for that offer when he was committed to TCU. He was the only offensive lineman in that class not to be an early enrollee, and I did not know what to expect or make of that. But 5 minutes after he showed up on campus, we were hearing about that guy's work ethic in the weight room and just around, the facilities, just always getting after it. So then you start thinking, oh my gosh, he's basically can't miss then if you put this size and athleticism together in a guy that's working out very hard. And basically a month on campus, they knew he was the heir apparent to Banks. And so did we want to see the heir apparent to Banks against A&M? No, not at all. Was I a little nervous when he came in, despite all the positive things we've heard? I was. But he looked like the heir apparent for sure. Definitely going to ease a lot of concerns about losing Banks next year. Obviously, you can't expect him to be Banks. But shoes, man, he really looked the part and just kept his composure. He played a very mentally sound game. We knew he looked the part athletically and physically, but mentally he was just locked in. I think he did have a false start, but other than that, he played a great game. Just everybody I talked to after the game was singing his praises. That was a big time game for him. But again, like Wisner, and no surprise, I singled him, Wisner, and Sorrell out in an article yesterday, and it's because all 3 of these guys came in. We were hearing the same thing about all 3 of them, is that they're just mentally locked in. They're tireless workers, and when you do that, not only create an extremely high floor for yourself, but you start lifting the ceiling up. And so when you already have a high ceiling like Gooseby does, you start thinking, yeah, this is probably going to be a future first-round draft pick. And he looked the part on Saturday.
Yeah, that's what I thought. I was like, man, we're going to have another first-round tackle. Do you think we're going to hear about Kelvin during the Sark presser? You think that's when we'll get an update, or do we have any idea?
He'll be asked about it, and Sark will say, "Oh, we're evaluating it," and then he'll probably be probable during the SEC makes you update your injury list about 15 times a week.
Yeah.
But I'm going to try to get information and drop some breadcrumbs on IT. I probably won't come out and say exactly what's going on, but if you're on IT and read the comments, you'll probably have a good idea.
Coach, you were going to say something? Are you good?
No. That's just her coughing in the background. Sorry, it just came through the mic, man.
Here's a good one. How did we not? I'm very proud of us. We got to 50 minutes and no mention of Arch Manning.
Oh yeah, look at us, man.
Oh man,
we didn't even talk about the Arch package. That's crazy, dude.
They had put that in a long time ago. They actually worked that some in the off season, and we had mentioned it on the board. People are like, there's not going to be a package. There won't be a package. I'm like, look, I'm not saying they're going to use it or whatever. I'm saying that it's in the playbook. And that, I mean, it made a lot of sense to me, given the down and distance. It's funny though, the reason it's the reason Clemson got clipped from their. I
was going to say, dude, the Mannings no way are excited about an Arch running package in the red zone.
Yeah, that's really what clipped Clemson. They like some things about Clemson, and then they started looking at Trevor Lawrence film, and Trevor Lawrence is taking a beating inside the red zone.
Yeah,
and they're like, no, that's not for us. But man, what an athletic play, and the balance and toughness, and God, you can't help but love it. But it's nice to know that that's there. Teams are going to. Charlie, you mentioned this, right? You mentioned that they're going to have to plan for it now.
Yeah, they definitely are. Like I said, I wasn't ready to call it Chris Leak and Tim Tebow 2.0 just yet, but the fact that it's there, man, gives teams something to worry about. In Georgia, it seems they can't handle it either. So.
Well, and then it's not just a decoy. He can easily pass out of that. I mean, he is a quarterback. I mean, they were content starting that guy coming into the season until Ewers came back, right? That was always the plan. So, thinking that that's just a package rather than Arch going in might be the wrong way to look at it. But we'll see if that gets more play. Obviously, they haven't really had issues in the red zone this year. So they might not need it. Maybe it just made a lot of sense because of Ewers' situation and because Sark, like Sark said, they had to rep Arch much of the week just to get ready, just in case he had to play. But yeah, it made a lot of sense in that down and distance. And I was that tight end was a hell of a play, man. He's a hell of an athlete.
Yeah, and him coming onto the sidelines too, man. He has an intensity that's a lot of fun, man. Because you got a fiery Manning that can actually move, man, and like you said. He can pass out of that, and I think purposely they weren't showing that. Right? You want to hold that. You want Arch to do that hot pass whenever you least expect.
Did you see? Did you see what Janae Barron called him on Twitter? He said he called him Malibu's most wanted. They showed a celebration. Janae called him Malibu's most wanted.
Dude, I watched that movie's horrible, but I honestly, for some reason, watched it like 4 weeks ago. I don't know why it was on, but it was. Wait till Zachariah Branch hits the portal.
I cannot believe that. Yeah, USC just keeps fooling these people, man. You kind of understand it on offense, but they're trying to get Sharma. But maybe that's just a leverage play. But why would any defensive player be looking at USC? I don't get it. But yeah, if Zachariah Branch goes in, all hell's going to break loose.
Yeah, I don't know what's going on over there. The coolest thing ever would be OU USC bowl game. They need.
I would love that. I don't.
Awesome.
Yeah, I would be passive bystander on that one. I wouldn't know what to do. I just don't like Lincoln Riley, but
at least you can admit that. It's like it's skewing my view, but yeah, that's pretty crazy.
I wonder what his season would have been like if he started Jaden Maava the rest of the whole season. But hey, that's a story for another day.
Malik, aren't you a Gators fan? Hit me up if you are. Yeah, it was like the Tyrone swoops. No. The Tyrone swoops. Man, I was in school during that. I'm like, what are we doing?
The 18-wheeler. Yeah. Was it Ahmad Brooks? He's an 18-wheeler, and they says choo choo.
It made no sense.
Oh man, that was hilarious.
Yeah. Florida may be a rival down the stretch. That'd be fun, man. That's what's cool about the SEC is new potentials, man. I know DJ Lagway was on the sidelines when we were beating him, and you could just see like a villain arc starting for DJ Lagway. You know, it's like, man, he's gonna want that get back going forward.
Florida fans are great. I had a great time with them in Austin, and that's probably one road trip I'll make next year.
Dude, yeah, Lagway's the real deal, man.
Yeah, he is.
Sports Center, man. Highlights. He's gonna be impressive.
Yeah,
but man, Florida's on their Oregon stuff from was that last cycle where Oregon was popping up. Oregon, LSU, Florida, man, have really been making strong pushes lately, man. Seems like Oregon kind of cooled off though. It seems like Oregon did most of their damage in like the early part of the.
I don't know. They just flipped very highly rated left tackle from Washington last night. That was that kid's from Portland, but yeah, he was committed to Washington, so they must have.
I guess I only look at it in relation to us. If they're flipping our players, then I'm like,
yeah,
you flip Washington's players all day. Go for it, man. I thought Joey McGuire had a good point yesterday, where he was talking about. He was trying to stump for the Big 12, but he did make an interesting point where he's like, if Texas wins the SEC, that's a Big 12 team that went and won the SEC in the first year. If Oregon wins, that's a Pac-12 team that won the Big 10 in the first year. If Arizona State wins, that's a Pac-12 team that won the Big 12 in the first year. If SMU wins, that's a G5 team that won the ACC in the first year. And so he's saying this kind of like conference obsession I guess is overvalued. I don't agree with that simply because the SEC and Big Ten's NFL production is showing you that there's a different caliber of athlete. Now, just because you have NFL doesn't necessarily mean that you're a better team. But I did think it was an interesting point, though, that he's saying that basically there's a lot of teams here that can win it that weren't in their conference last year. And I thought that was kind of an interesting point. And that was him saying, like, we need more guys, that we need more Big 12 opportunities in the playoffs. But I thought it was cool. And I thought it was a good point.
Yeah, that's interesting. Maybe I'll ponder that.
Yeah. Oregon may be done filling their classes, though.
Yeah, they're still going to play defense on their guys. We'll see.
Yeah. But you never know who they're going to try to send to the board after the season that they want to fill in from this class, though. So you never know how much space they actually have.
Didn't you say this is like more like portal recruiting, though, Eric? That like even signing day doesn't necessarily mean it's the end of it.
This high school this week is like portal recruiting for sure, where it's a lot of agents involved. A lot of you're not going to know where a kid's going until it's done. You could see some wild ass coverage, especially if any reporters are using agents. You might see some wild coverage like we've seen with portal recruiting. Some portal recruiting has been all over the freaking map. I view like this last stretch, and especially the higher rated 5-star guys. This is basically portal recruiting at this point.
Yeah. Is any of this going to go past official signing day?
Well, I mean, signing day is actually a period from the 4th to the 6th. So yeah, Justice Terry, I think, is announcing Friday.
Okay. It's going to be fun, hopefully, man. It's this week is always interesting. Where are we at? Fourth in the class right now from on 3?
I'm pretty sure 5th. I don't know. I hadn't seen it since Mbachu decommitted, but yeah, I don't know. It doesn't matter where we're at right now. It matters where they finish up.
Yeah.
All right, fans. We appreciate you. Eric, Coach, tomorrow I will be on with Paul. We are going to cover the Georgia Bulldogs once again. Hopefully we can get a different result. But thank you guys for hanging out. Have a great Monday.
See ya.